Tarras, you've probably never heard of it. It's a little wee tiny settlement in central Otago. It's about 30 kilometres, oh God, what would it be? North of Cromwell. And it's on the way to the Lindis Pass. It's got a small little school there and a couple of sort of tourist cafe type things, but you just drive past it. It's probably most known at the moment for every long weekend being the place where the police do the alcohol drug test and drug testing of drivers. Usually at some inconvenient time like 3:30 in the afternoon. But apart from that, you won't know Tarras. But Tarras has become, in the last 5 years, probably one of the most controversial small towns in New Zealand for two reasons. First, Christchurch International Airport want to site an international airport at Tarras and have been purchasing land for, at least 5 or 6 years now in that particular area. And they want to put an international airport there essentially to replace Queenstown, or certainly to rival it, because Queenstown can't expand. Central Otago is expanding. International tourists are coming to Tarras. That's one of the reasons. The other reason is because Santana Minerals have discovered in some of their prospecting, I suppose that's still the word you'd use these days, that there is the town, or at least that particular part of central Otago, is sitting literally on a gold mine, and that there is a huge amount of recoverable gold under them the hills. To talk about that, and also where Santana Minerals, who are being tasked with getting that particular gold out of that particular ground, is the Chief Executive and Executive Director of Santana Minerals, Damian Spring. He joins us now. Damian, welcome to the show. Good to have you on. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Michael. Good to meet you.
Now, you are, first of all, a little bit about you. You didn't go to mining school at Otago University like most respectable miners. You actually went to Australia and got your mining and metallurgy degree, did you?
No, I was the benefactor of the Otago School of Mines
Oh, you were?
when it relocated to University of Auckland. So their first year in
Okay.
Auckland was my first year doing the degree.
Okay. And then you now are a fellow of the Australasian Institute of Mining and Metallurgy. What does that mean?
Yep. Well, the Institute is one of the longest royal charters in terms of professionals. It's been going since the mid-1800s. It's really our professional group. So like the Institute of Engineers in New Zealand, for the Australasian Institute of Mining and Metallurgy, that's exactly what it covers. But as we move into a much more modern area, of course, that covers a lot more than just that, including of late ESG, so environment, social and governance issues. So it's a very
Okay.
wide-ranging institute, and it's our professional body.
And you've set up Santana Minerals Limited, obviously. Why did you choose the word Santana? I was interested in that. Are you a fan of the guitarist?
I do like Santana and some
So there
other
you go.
Santanas, but actually, no, the company predates me well and truly. It was formed in 2013 and was created to take some Mexican assets that were spun out of a previous sale of a silver mine to a large North American company. So that's its origin, and that's basically what it's been working on over the last 10, 11 years until they acquired Matakanui Gold in 2020.
Oh, I see. Now, you say you've discovered the most significant single gold deposit in New Zealand for at least 4 decades, anyhow. Um, what have you discovered exactly in that particular area?
So we've discovered 2.5 million ounces of gold in the ground at a grade of 2.4 grams per tonne, and it is, by those two metrics, easily the largest single discovery in New Zealand in a very long time, beyond that 40 years. I guess the other deposits that are still being mined today, Waihi in particular was always known as a very large discovery back when it was discovered in 1852, if I got that right. And of course, Macraes, when it started, only had 7-year mine life, and they started with 1.8 million ounces. So, just on those two examples, we're clearly the biggest discovery for a long time.
How do you discover gold, particularly when it's under the ground?
A lot of hard work by exploration geologists, good luck, and really having some financial backing. These guys, particularly our founding directors, Kim Bunting and Warren Batt, very seasoned exploration geologists, and certainly in Warren's domain, a very experienced mine developer with the likes of Perelia and having mined a number of alluvial gold mines around New Zealand in his career. So I think Kim got back on the ground in about 2010, eventually worked his way into the Manahira Kia up towards Omakau, pegged the ground adjacent to what is the Rise and Shine permit, got on the ground in Rise and Shine in 2016 when the previous company actually handed the permit back to the government, and proceeded to follow up on all the exploration to date in these valleys, resulting in what they had in 2020, which is 200,000 ounces at just under a gram.
Now, that's an awful lot of money. I think I've seen in media terms it's been characterized about $5 billion. Is that right?
Yes, we've recently released a pre-feasibility study which complies with ASX and NZX listing rules and the JORC code, these are all standards that we must make these estimates on, so we're not just drawing it on the back of a fag packet. So we're going to be producing 1.15 million ounces over a period of 9 years, and you do a simple maths, take those ounces by the current gold price, and it's definitely north of 5 billion.
Okay. Now, what do you actually do to recover that gold? You presumably take the topsoil off and then start digging. Over what period, or sort of how much ground are we talking about here that you'd have a mine?
So the main deposit's called the Rise and Shine, or RAS. We would literally start with water controls to make sure that if it rains, that you don't have any runoff, and we'd take the vegetation and topsoil and put that to one side to store to be used in rehabilitation at the end of the process. Then we'd colloquially lift the scab, and that is mine about 100 to 150 metres of overburden that doesn't have any gold in it, to then expose the rock that does have the gold in, and we call that ore. Then we proceed to start mining that ore, and once we've got enough regular supply, then we would start putting it through the processing plant.
So you've got to go down, did you say 100 metres, 100 to 150 metres?
At least 150 metres, yes. Ultimately, the pit will be 200 metres at the high wall.
So how wide does your pit have to be, Damian, to get down there? What sort of
So the overall dimensions of the final pit will be about 800 metres wide and about 1,000 metres long. And at the bottom of that 1,000 metres down the hill will be about 200 metres high from the top of that wall to the bottom of it.
So the land that you're going to be excavating from, I assume you've bought it. What was it being used for prior to that?
So we have access arrangements in place with the current landowners. There are two stations that are primarily sheep and beef stations. We continue to have those agreements that allow for mining, so we don't own the land, but the landowners are compensated for the activities that we'll be undertaking.
Do you have the ability to override their wishes if they didn't consent, or do they need to consent for you to do what you're doing on their land?
Oh, no, it's definitely, we needed their consent, and that was put in place reasonably early in the whole process, certainly before we made the discovery hole, that we call it. And I might as well tell you a bit about that. It was When Santana acquired Takanui in late 2020, they also raised $7 million. That money was used to mobilise a particular rig that could recover diamond core, so sticks of the rock that we're drilling through. The seventh hole, 007, the James Bond hole, in that program finally hit the mother lode at 40 metres at over 2 grams. So if you remember, in 2020, they only had an ore body of 1 gram. So this intercept certainly set the scene that they went from strength to strength after that. But already at that time, we had the landowners' agreement to explore and ultimately go through a number of steps to enable mining. And that includes obviously getting resource consent.